I'm Irene, this is Perpetually Paperback, and today we're going to be talking about Sarah MacLean's The Rogue Not Taken. This is the first one in the Scandal and Scoundrel series. This is book 1. Okay, so I read a Sarah MacLean book a couple months ago, actually, and it was 9 Rules to Break When Romancing a Rake. And I actually really enjoyed it. And then I was like, I knew I wanted to pick up another one of hers. There were a ton of them over at my secondhand bookstore. So I grabbed a few of them and I really like starting series at the beginning of them. Most of them honestly could probably be read completely out of order and it wouldn't make a difference. I just happen to like starting from the beginning if it's a series that I'm really thinking I'm gonna dive into. Anyway, I wasn't ready. I was not ready for this at all. It was fantastic. I'm gonna grab mine, please. No. Okay, I can't even describe fantastic in I don't even have words for this one. Okay, this book was fantastic. The beginning of it is super plot driven. So literally I kept describing this book to my friends and it was like, it literally is like a gunshot. It goes off and then it just is like 1,000 miles an hour from there. So let me tell you what it's actually about. If you can't tell already, I think I gave it 4 stars. 4.5 stars? Honestly, my star ratings are like very, very questionable, like at that. It was fantastic. It was a wonderful reading experience. Let me tell you why. This book basically follows Lady Sophie, and she is one of the dangerous daughters of society, which is basically like her father kind of came into money and they're known for being like social climbers that are like out to find someone with a title, which is, I don't know how true that is from what we know of them. Sophie in particular is a hardcore wallflower. She doesn't really like all the ins and outs of society and just kind of, she doesn't like all the fakeness. So the reason I say it starts off with a bang is because literally in the first chapter, she like throws someone in a pond and completely calls them out for just being like, you know, a scourge of society and like an overall shit person, which he is. But after that, she like pretty much needs to escape from there. And as she's trying to do so, she encounters the Marquis of Eversley, who goes by King, which I'm not gonna lie, at first I was like, I kind of hate that name. I kind of hate it as a protagonist name. I don't know why, just a me thing, but I got over it. So she basically finds him like coming down a trellis and like you catch on that he's pretty much helping ladies figure out their situation by ruining them so that they're able to choose what their fortune is going to be, right? Or what the outcome of their life will be. So she encounters him there and she's like, please help me. And he's like, no. I'm like, yeah, I have a carriage, but like, no, you're gonna have to figure this out on your own. So she, being the sassy firecracker that she is, decides that she is going to pay one of his footmen to buy his clothes basically and now come work for her. So she's like scalping his footman just to spite him and gets on his carriage. Well, she kind of messed up. Like she really messed up because she ended up 3 hours away at an inn nowhere near her house, right? And then King discovers that she has done this because he catches on really quickly and refuses to help her, but then like becomes obsessed about it later. Like it's great. So like you kind of get his dialogue at this point, and it's definitely at this point enemies to lovers. If you couldn't tell already, they end up going on a journey. And I mean, honestly, it just goes from there. I told you like maybe the first 3 chapters, there is so much that happens in this. It was great. There's also a couple of things like, I don't think I've ever read a non-sex sex scene that has been so amazing. There's a bathtub scene where they're not even looking at each other. They're just in the same room and everything about it is like electric and fantastic. And all it is her describing sound. Like, you are, Sarah, a fucking magician with words. Like, chef's kiss, fantastic. It was so good. such a good scene. Even if you like didn't like the whole book, say whatever you'd like about the whole book, because I read some of the comments on it and people were like, people didn't like the back and forth of the characters, but I actually found it to be fantastic. I thought their banter was awesome. I thought each character really gave it to each other and the other one gave it to each other back. Like there were definitely points in the book when the two characters were kind of bantering with each other and like some of them stung hard, where you can tell, like, you know, when you're in those fight, like, I don't know, maybe just me, but when you're like bantering with someone and it gets really hard and you're like, you get like meaner and meaner a little bit, it was definitely kind of like that. But as they get meaner, they like definitely start to care for each other more. I found Sophie to be an outstanding protagonist. I thought she was strong. She was strong, but also vulnerable, because you get her like internal dialogue, but she was definitely the kind of person that's like, I'm not going to let him know how I feel because I'm a little bit too proud for that. But ultimately it ended so well. Also, there is a carriage scene, because like they take a while to actually get together. Obviously it's an enemies to lovers, so there's a little bit of like, that obviously them being enemies at the beginning, there are certain things that happen towards the middle where they come together, and finally at the end where they're actually in love with each other, they end up having this carriage scene. I love carriages. I love carriage scenes. I didn't really like think that a traveling story would be something like I didn't think like, oh, I want to read a story about two people traveling, but I think I really, really like these. Like, I think for me, they're some of my favorite genres, or this is what I'm starting to find. I definitely am finding that I love strong protagonists. I love even like that's not a good way of putting it. I like when two main characters, well, I like good banter, and honestly the craftsmanship of this story itself, like there's a lot of character development that happens with these two people. I really hate when people say that romance isn't like that characters aren't well fleshed out and are one-dimensional. No character in this book was one-dimensional. They were both just troubled, and she gives you a lot of their, like, you really feel some of their insecurities, and it paid off so well. It was fantastic. I was watching Fangirl Musings video on this, and she just was like fangirling so hard, and I completely understand everything she's saying in it, because yes, like I was screaming about this book. I had to literally calm myself down to be able to go, like, to talk to you about it, because I was so excited. It was just, it was so fantastic. It was just loved, really. Yeah, so this was probably one of, I would probably say as close to 5 stars as I can get. I think I can genuinely say that these were two of my favorite actual protagonists in a romance. It's a historical romance. It's set as they're essentially traveling on the Great North Road. I just have nothing but amazing things to say. If you have read this book, please tell me what you think. I'm going to be coming out with another review of the second book in the series, and this one in particular, it was so crazy to me. So spoiler alert, I didn't love the next one after this, which is insane to me because I loved this one so much. Like, it is one of the most fun books that I have read this year. I had such an enjoyable time with it. And honestly, this might be one of my, like, a book that I actually go and reread. I'm not a big rereader. There's a couple here and there that I will reread from time to time, but I could very, very much see myself reading this again and enjoying it just as much, if not more. So this has been Sarah MacLean's The Rogue Not Taken. I'm Irene. This is Perpetually Paperback, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.